One of the most popular events at the Cattle Con is CattleFax, and with us today to talk a little bit about what's happening, Randy Blach with CattleFax. What do you see as your short-term outlook for 2024?
Well, Megan, it's been a pretty interesting time over the last few years, and I think 24 will be an interesting one as well. We're still not seeing much herd retention going on, or heifer retention going on in the herds. So as we all know, we're looking at some pretty small cattle numbers. When we look at the total cattle inventory numbers, we haven't seen numbers like this in decades. And obviously our beef cow numbers continue to shrink. So we think we'll start to see some slow herd rebuilding take place in 2024, a slowdown in beef cow slaughter, an increase in the number of heifers that start to move back to our breeding herds. So, with that comes ramifications. Fewer feeder cattle and calves available to move to our feeding industry and also to our packing industry. So we'll be looking at a time in here over the next few years where there's just not going to be enough cattle to go around for everybody.
How important is it going to be that consumer demand remains strong to help provide some support to those prices for producers?
Well, that's obviously the biggest thing, isn't it? Demand is important. When we look at the consumer, that's really where all the new dollars come to our industry, is through the consumer. So actually, I think if we just give everybody a recap on beef demand, 21, 22, 23, the last 3 years have been the three strongest years in beef demand that we've had since all the way back into the late 1980s. So we've been running at a 30-plus year high in beef demand. So even though prices have moved to record high levels, consumers have not backed away. I mean, I think it's a pretty good story out here, but we're right on the edge, aren't we? I mean, we need to see this economy really solidify. We need to see people get a little more confidence back, and actually the latest numbers show there's a little uptick in consumer confidence. So I'm optimistic beef demand is going to hold together very well. We're going to have smaller supplies, so prices are still going to have to climb higher in here to ration that smaller supply, but I think we're going to be fine.
As we wrap up, can you give us a little bit of a price outlook? Where do you see things heading for 2024 into 2025?
Well, I think as we look at 2024, let's step back and we think about where we are within the cattle cycle. We had a cattle cycle high in 2014. Typically, a cattle cycle will run about 10 to 11 years. So 14 was our highs, 2020, 6 years later, was our lows. I would be looking out here in 2025, 2026 would be where our cattle price cycle highs will come, probably into 2026 when our supplies are at their tightest levels. And then we'd be looking on into 2030, and that time period is a time period as we've rebuilt, the prices will be moving back towards the cycle low. So we think prices will be higher on all classes of cattle in 24. Again, another $8 to $10 higher on fed cattle prices, feeder cattle and calf prices up as much as $20 to $30 a hundred more. Particularly, we're just going to have more capacity chasing a declining supply of cattle. So the cow-calf man's going to be in the driver's seat. I mean, they're going to get a payday. And again, it'd been pretty lean. Cow-calf producers hadn't made much money from 2016 all the way into 2021. So they were long overdue, and we need to see some good profitability back to the cow-calf producer. I think that'll help stimulate a little more herd growth in the next few years.
Randy, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Great to be with you. Good luck to you.
From Cattleman to Cattleman, I'm Megan Grebner, Brownfield Ag News. Kevin, back to you.